Consistent self-improvement, everybody. You are now listening to American gypC podcast. I am your host, Classic, and I am here with my co-host,
gypC. And today we have Murielle Fellous. She is a certified quantum life coach, an EFT and tapping specialist, and an advanced Reiki practitioner. She is also the host of the Single Moms Doing It All podcast. Welcome, Murielle.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here.
It's a pleasure having you.
So you mentioned about tapping when we were talking about this podcast, and I think that's the first time I've ever heard of that. So can you give us a little bit more about what that is and why we should do it?
Yeah. So tapping is a technique. It's almost like acupuncture for the brain, but without the needles. We use the meridians in the body, the nervous and energy meridians, mixed with some aspect of psychology. And it helps with, it's like an emotional first aid, but we use it to heal trauma. They use it now with veterans. I use it with moms who live under a lot of anxiety. It's a stress release technique, so you can use it to calm down. And it really has an impact in the brain, there is the stress center called the amygdala, which become active as soon as you perceive something as a threat, whether it's real or just imaginary, because we can do that to ourselves with our thoughts. There is a whole mechanism of biochemicals and bodily reaction that takes place, and it's a stress response. Not only we get ready to fight, it's the fight, flight, or freeze response, because we either fight. It comes from when we were cavemen and cavewomen, and there was a predator in front of us, so we're either going to fight, we're going to flight, so we're going to run and escape. Sometimes we freeze, and some people, even now, they added another one, some people faint. So what tapping does is, by putting pressure on certain points, mostly around the face and the top of the body, you intercept that response, and you can go back to your normal, neutral, calm self. Because nowadays, in our modern life, when we're under stress and we have a stress response, the brain doesn't function normally. There is not enough blood going there, and we are not resourceful. We can't think. So in order to come back, we use tapping. And since I actually sent you my info, I changed the name of my podcast, because I use tapping with my clients and with myself. I do now something that I call co-parenting with the universe, to where you have to access an emotional state that is high enough so you can actually commune with the universe and get the information, your inner wisdom. And tapping for that is marvelous, because it brings you back to your neutral self instead of being in panic or overreacting.
What are some ways you can get into those states besides tapping?
You mean to come back to neutral?
Well, you were saying to get in those states where you can commune with the universe.
So the way I explain it is almost like an elevator. And when you can commune with the universe, access the wisdom, and even in my life, get assistance to every one of my challenges, you need to come back to neutral. And some ways to come back to neutral when you are in stress or anxious, there is breathing. And scientifically, they did some experiments and some research, and they found that when you inhale for 6 and exhale for 6, it literally calms the brain down. Another thing you can do is close your eyes and look at the black empty space behind your eyelids. What is anything where you would maybe move your body? I know for me, when I want to change my emotional state, sometimes I dance, because it's literally, it changes the energy of the body. Meditation, but you need to have like more time, and at the beginning it's harder for people who just start. Those are the ways I can think about.
How did you get into like doing energy work in general? What pulled you to this?
So as a mom, I had kids who had, I had a daughter who was she was sick a lot. And instinctively, I was going above her and I was putting my hands above her and just sending mom's love, because I know it's a very strong force. And I was taking whatever would disturb her, mostly when she was sleeping. That way she was calm and she wouldn't wonder what I was doing. I would grab whatever was disturbing and give it to God or the universe or whatever you call it. And that was my first approach to energy. On parallel, I was always passionate about self-development, self-improvement. I started 25 years ago. I started attending Tony Robbins seminars. And then I went to Louise Hay's programs, if you know Louise Hay. So I was always attracted to that world. But when I discovered that you could do literally change things with energy in our hands, I decided to go and get trained in Reiki to use that professionally and even expand that and be more intentional maybe in the way that I was doing it. And tapping, which is also an energy medicine modality or technique, I discovered with a book called The Tapping Solution from Nick Ortner. And I tried it on myself and I felt the effect right away. And that's how I entered the world of tapping. And now I'm getting certified in clinical tapping, which is even more potent to really heal and take care of the symptoms of post PTSD, very serious and strong stuff. It's I really love it. It's one technique that is really, really efficient.
I'm interested in how the process works as far as for tapping.
So we can do a demonstration for your audience if you want.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm going to take you as guinea pigs if you're okay with it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can work on something that stresses you, and you can either be very general if you don't want to tell the audience what it is, or you can be as whatever you want to say. Pick something that is really stressing you to where you feel an emotion of stress in your body. And that needs to be on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is I don't feel stressed at all. And 10 is like, oh my God, I'm going to explode. I'm so stressed. I feel it in my body. It's overwhelming. You need to be at 5 or higher. So when you have something, let me know. And for the audience, they can pick something that stresses them, something that scares them, even something they have anxiety about, anything that really disturbs them at a body level even.
Okay. Yes.
You have something?
No,
I have. Well, yeah. I'm pretty much in the in the moment right now, so I can definitely easily say that even making income with the podcast is about as in the moment as I can be with something that I would. It's not necessarily stressing, but I would say.
Let's say a little bit more general and say, like, I guess getting rid of limited beliefs. Would that be or manifesting?
So
pretty general, yeah.
With tapping, you don't have to say something very specific for the audience if you don't want to, but the more specific you are, the better. Because if you're talking about changing a belief is a little bit like a tabletop. There are several legs that hold that belief in place. And those legs are events or memory from childhood. Because when you're going to start working with that, you're going to have stuff that are going to come back to your consciousness about stuff that you went through when you were younger. And that's what we do actually when we do tapping sessions longer with clients. We go back because that's where the source is. So for a belief, if you really wanted to tackle a belief, you're going to have to pick a few stories where you're very precise and you work with that specific story you're going to give it a title, and you're going to tap just on the title that, as long as it brings emotion, you can tap on it. So for now, for the sake of the show and time, maybe some kind of stressor, I don't know, with the podcast, because I have a podcast also myself for moms. I know that sometimes there is the stress about how many listeners are going to listen, or am I visible? Something that really is stressing you, but not too much, because it's very short, and I would like you to experience the result.
Right. But that's
the fear of something, the stress about putting a certain episode out or reaching a certain guest. I don't know, maybe you have someone you would love to have, but you feel stressed about contacting them, anything like that.
We have those
I guess,
as well.
one of the things you mentioned was lack of time. Can we do it on? And I feel like that's something that a lot of people experience, no matter what they're working on. Everyone wishes they can have more time to devote to whatever they're doing.
So to be specific on that, bring to your mind your to-do list. And the feeling of I don't have enough time to do all that. And let me know when you're there, when you're at a 5 or higher.
Yeah, I can. That's pretty.
For
that's
all
pretty
of us.
easy for me.
I know.
I have a list right back there. And
you know what? We can even tap on. We can even give the title of that list. If I say that list, does it bring you like really stress to? So where do you feel the stress?
In my stomach.
I feel it a little higher than lower, but I think it starts more here.
Like the solar plexus, or?
I think a little bit below the solar plex, right? Just like in that little.
So we can say in my stomach. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I would say probably most likely in the stomach. Yeah.
And as far as the number, where do you fall? So you're at least at a 5, maybe higher. Where are you now?
I would have to say for me, I kind of. I'm not just a super stress, I guess, type of person. So it has to be around the 5 or 6. I know at least for me.
Okay,
you know,
that's good.
I'm not gonna over stress, my body wise. Otherwise, I'll get to knocking it out, and just so I won't, it won't go too much higher. Yeah, I try to keep
that's
that.
Good. As long as you're at a 5 or 6, it's okay. Just take a mental note of where you are. So you said a 5 or 6, and gypC, you said a 6 or 7. What did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
About a year from now, it'll be completely different. But now, in this in particular moment, I could say you may catch me at the most in the moment. Pretty grateful for everything. So I'm learning not to let too much stress me. So, but a year ago, when I guess even right now, this was all being repaired because the roof had leaked. A different level of stress.
Yeah, I can
that
imagine.
would have been yes. So I'm sorry.
So okay. So now I'm going to show you the points, and I'll explain them for the people who listen on audio. Is your podcast also released on audio or only video?
Video and audio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the people who listen on audio, we're going to start tapping on the side of the hand that is called the karate chop, because that's the flesh from below the pinky up to the wrist. Then we'll go to the beginning of the eyebrow on the bridge of the nose. Then on the side of the eye, the corner of the eye, under the mouth above the mouth between the nose and the mouth, then under the mouth at the crease. Then your collarbone just under, there is some flesh and it's soft. The next one is at the brow line under the arm, for women where the brow line would be. And we're going to end up on the top of the head, just where if you trace a line between the two ears, it would meet on the top of the head just there. So what we're going to do now, we set up the situation, the statement. So we're going to repeat the statement 3 times. So I'm going to say it, and then I'll give you the space to repeat it. So we're gonna go with that list and that stress. So even though I have a lot of stress about that list.
Even though I have a lot of stress about that list.
And tapping on the side of the hand, I accept myself completely and I love myself.
I accept myself completely and I love myself.
And we're going to do that 2 more times. Even though I have distress about that list.
Even though I have distress about that list.
And really think about your list. Really try to access the emotion. I accept and love myself completely.
I accept and love myself completely.
And one last time, even though I have the stress about that list.
Even though I have the stress about that list.
All those things I have to do.
All those things I have to do.
And not enough time to do them all.
And not enough time to do them all.
I completely and deeply accept and love myself.
I completely and deeply accept myself.
Now let's tap on the eyebrow, the beginning of the eyebrow. That long list of things to do.
That long list of things to do.
And really think about your list and your things. Side of the eye, on the corner of the eye. That list and all the things I have to do.
That list and all the things I have to do.
Now, under the eye, I forgot the under the eye. Under the eye on the bone. All the things I have to do and not enough time.
All the things I have to do and not enough time.
Under the nose. All those things I have to do.
All those things I have to do.
Under the mouth. Many, many things I have to do.
Many things I have to do.
Under the collarbone. All those things and the stress in my stomach.
All those things and the stress in my stomach.
Under the arm, at the bra line. I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do them all.
I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do them all.
Top of the head. I don't see how it's possible for me to do them all.
I don't see how it's possible for me to do them all.
Again, the eyebrow. But yet I have to do them all.
But yet I have to do them all.
Side of the eye. Those are the things on my list and they must be done.
Those are the things on my list and they must be done.
Under the eye. And there is only 24 hours a day.
There is only 24 hours a day.
Under the nose. Under the nose. How am I going to do that?
How am I going to do that?
Under the mouth. How am I going to do all of that?
How am I going to do all of that?
Collarbone. Under the collarbone. I don't know.
I don't know.
Under the arm, bra line. All that stress in my stomach.
All that stress in my stomach.
Top of the head. Now, if you see the stress in your stomach, if you can visualize it, what color would it be for you?
I would say green.
Say orange.
So you're going to repeat your color. All that green or orange stress in my stomach.
All that green or orange stress in my stomach. Green.
All that green or orange stress in my stomach. Tap on the bra line, on the eyebrow.
All that green stress in my stomach.
Stress in my stomach.
Now, if you see the stress, what shape would it be?
I don't have a shape.
All that shapeless stress in my stomach. Do you have a shape, gypC?
No, all that.
So let's go with that. All that under the eye.
All that
shapeless stress in my stomach. Under the nose. It may be shapeless, but it's there.
It may be shapeless, but it's there.
There is stress in my stomach.
There is stress in my stomach.
Under the collarbone. All that stress in my stomach.
All that stress in my stomach.
Under the arm. That may not be good for my body.
That may not be good for my body.
Top of the head. We know stress isn't good for the body.
We know stress isn't good for the body.
Eyebrow. And I know stress doesn't help me to do what I have on my list.
And I know stress doesn't help me to do what I have on my doesn't help me to do what I have on my list.
Side of the eye. It doesn't help me and it's not good for me.
It doesn't help me, and it's not good for me.
Under the eye. So what if I could let it go?
So what if I could let it go?
It is safe to let it go.
It is safe to let it go.
Do you have any resistance in your body when you say it's safe to let it go?
No.
Okay. Under the mouth. It is safe to let go of that stress.
It is safe to let go of that stress.
Under the collarbone. It is safe to let go of that stress, and I choose to let it go now.
It is safe to let go of that stress, and I choose to let it go now.
Under the arm. I choose to let go of the stress.
I choose to let go of the stress.
Top of the head. I choose to do what's good for me and what will help me do what I have on my list.
I choose to do what is good for me and what will help me do what is on my list. What I have to do on my list.
I now let go of the stress.
I now let go of the stress.
And I'll stop tapping and take a deep breath. And think about your to-do list. Think about what you were thinking earlier, where you were either at a 5 or at a 6 and a 7, and see where do you fall now. And for the audience, same thing. Go back and see what number you are.
I would say it's lower. It's not it's maybe, I mean, as far as, I don't feel it here the same way, I guess, either. It's like it feels a little lower, but maybe a 2 or 3, possibly, if that's lower.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can move in the body.
And physically and in energy.
In intensity, yeah. And for you, gypC?
Yeah, it definitely got lower, but I got in the middle of us doing that whole exercise, like I got distracted because there was a feeling in my stomach and it went away. And I'm like, wait, I noticed it and I kind of got distracted. So I forgot what words you were saying. So yeah, I did notice that the feeling that I was saying in my stomach did dissipate even before we finished the session.
Yeah, and that's typically what happens. Now, for the audience, for some people, sometimes it goes higher because you concentrate on that problem. And if that's the case, rewind that episode to the beginning of the tapping and redo the tapping until you go lower. Because typically when I tap one-on-one with people or in my groups, it goes lower, it changes. Sometimes you have memories that come back from childhood. It's linked to a situation where you felt stressed like that may not be about your to-do list. And a lot of stuff can happen. It's really because it opens some memories in the brain. Tapping, when you do it often, and when you work with everything that disturbs you, has the potential to literally change the plasticity of the brain. So it's going to change your connection, so that if we're talking about stress, I know for me in my life and in the lives of the moms I talk to, I coach, they have teenagers and difficult teenagers. So there are a lot of stressors. And the more we work, the more we tap, the less we, when you react instead of responding, right, the less we react, the more we are able to have like a pause and say, wait a minute, how do I want to respond? How do I not dance that tango that my teenager is inviting me to dance, like go in a conflict and, oh no, I'm not dancing. You dance alone and I'm not getting mad. So the more you do it, the more it's like that.
Yeah. So I guess we did get into tapping and all of this right away. I do want to get to the audience to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, I usually like to ask at the beginning, but of course we just flow as well.
Yeah.
And thank you as well for the example and for the
demonstration.
The demonstration, and the experience. What led you to get into that, as far as, I guess, to go back from that? Tell us a little bit about where you're from, because I'm sure they hear your accent and everything, and we usually let them know, what side of the world we're on.
I can't hide where I'm from because the accent is so strong. So originally I was born and raised in France. And then I moved in Israel to go to college, and then I met someone from the US. So I ended up living 25 years in the US, where I raised 3 kids. I ended up as a single mom, and I raised 3 kids on my own. I still have one with me. So I recently moved from the US to Israel. It's very, very fresh and recent. And the thing is, since you know how some people find their purpose, I always say that my purpose found me, because even when I was in high school, I had all the people who were like breaking up with their boyfriends or girlfriends, or girls who were, I remember I had girls who were getting pregnant and they were having so much trouble. I somehow I had a soothing effect before knowing even what I was doing. So at a certain point, and when I was a single mom, I was doing that on the side. I said, I might as well get certified and make money with that, because I love it and people need it. So I got certified and I started coaching women on relationships for years, until my kids became teenagers and they started acting out in sometimes very self-destructive and very dangerous ways. Going to parties and trying too many stuff, where it was so scary for me, because I was a control freak, let's say it. I wanted to control everything and keep my kids safe. But you know, when your kids become teenagers, they go places and you're not with them, and you cannot protect them 24/7, and I'm not God. So slowly, I was in so much anxiety, because they were really, let's say, adventurous in what they were doing. I was always afraid that one day one of them would die. And I woke up in the middle of the night, like in panic attacks. And it became so difficult, sorry, that it spiraled me into depression. And I didn't even realize that. To a point where I wish that something would just take me away from this planet. I would not kill myself, but if I could disappear, that would be great, because I kept telling myself, I don't have what it takes. It's too much. I don't have family. I was still in the US without family or anything. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water.
No problem.
And one night I woke up really crying, realizing that I didn't love my life. And I have a lot of allergy. I'm sorry, I'm going to put a candy in my mouth. I don't want to cough. I really apologize.
It's no problem.
Gosh. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I cried and cried. And I realized that I hated my life, but I would never admit that before, because in my mind, it meant that I didn't love my kids. So I had so much judgment that I couldn't even see myself. And that night, I realized that we can be paradoxes. We can have 2 parts of ourselves that could be true at one time. And because I didn't love my life, it didn't mean that I didn't love my kids. So I started asking for help. And I started doing what I would tell a client to do, but multiplied by 10. So I always meditated. I really made sure I meditated morning and evening to connect to the infinite love, to connect to what would help me bounce back. When I was waking up in panic attack in the middle of the night, I would tap. So I would come back, because I don't know if you've heard about people who are in the positive self-improvement milieu. They always say, pick a more positive thought. But when you are in a turmoil and in a really, really strong panic attack and anxiety attack, you can't think about anything else. It's like you're stuck in a loop. So you have to intervene at the nervous system level, because you cannot get out of that emotional state with a thought. You have to really, really grab a hold of your nervous system, interrupt, and then pick another thought. So I was tapping in the middle of the night to go back to a neutral state. And then I was telling myself, the sentence I think that saved me, I have what it takes. I didn't exactly know what it meant, but I knew I have what it takes and I'm not alone. Those two sentences, to me, they give us so much strength and hope. So I was telling myself that over and over, and I was telling myself, at this moment, right now, my kids are safe. Nobody's in trouble. Nobody's dying. So I'm safe. I have what it takes. I'm not alone. And I really practiced that and trained my brain slowly to understand that I could not protect them 24/7. I could not, if God forbid I was meant to lose a kid in this life, there's nothing I can do that can change that. I believe that before we come on earth, we choose our parents, we choose certain challenges. And if they chose that, who am I to change what they chose? And maybe I was meant to go through certain stuff. And so I said, since I cannot control it, and I know that we are given the tools in the moment to deal with whatever is happening to us, the universe is giving us what we need in the moment. You were talking about being in the moment earlier. When you are living through something, if you really can access and calm down a little bit to see what's going on, you will be given the tools. So I said, there is no point in managing what I cannot manage. So I started realizing that we have two areas, one area of power and one area of powerlessness. And that area of powerlessness, I relinquished it to the universe, to God. And I said, you take care of that. You've protected me so far. You've protected my kids. You'll give me the tools if I need to. I really strengthened my trust, my faith to know that there was that higher power there if I needed to. And I concentrated on the area where I had power, which was to learn to not react, but respond, to learn to have a better relationship with my kids and not only be like a dog guard, you know. I don't know if you say that in English, a dog that guards. and always after them, like, are you smoking weed? Are you this? Are you that? All the time, because the relationship became that. And it's not only what there is. There are so many other stuff. And that's the best way to push your kids away, to be all the time on their back like that. So I really change and train my brain to be more to trust in the universe, to know where I had to put limits with my kids, but also trusting that they were not stupid, and that I was catastrophizing also, and that the same wisdom that I had in me, they also had some in them. So I relaxed and things became better. And when I was back to myself, it had been so painful that I said, I don't want any mom to struggle like that. I want to help them. So I changed the business. I changed to help moms. I really developed in a meditation, and I had that name that came, co-parenting with the universe, because every time I had a challenge, I was asking, show me the next step. Sometimes it was a book. Sometimes I had to meet someone. Sometimes I had to work on myself, but there was always something shown to me. And when I needed help, it always came if I was flexible enough to see that it came in the form that the universe decided, not my version, like it needs to come that way. And it has been working since, just like that, for the rest of my life, my business, everything. I'm co-parenting, co-creating with the universe. I'm doing my job to self-regulate emotionally as much as I can, to be, not as judgmental, to learn, to grow, to be ready, and listen and be flexible and see how am I shown the way. And that's what I've been doing, in a parenthesis.
Was meditation something that was introduced to you as a child, or was it something that you had to get as an adult? I know I was maybe college or afterwards when I was an adult when I was introduced into meditation.
So I was introduced to it in my 20s. Yeah, about 26, 27. I was doing yoga, and there was a meditation workshop, and it was part of the yoga training. And I stepped into it, and I loved it, and I see that really it keeps me sane, because otherwise I'm a nutcase with everything that I have to do.
Who are some of your favorite spiritual gurus that you read about or listen to?
So I loved, and I still love, the late Wayne Dyer. Do you know about Wayne Dyer?
I'm not sure.
No, I don't.
The Power of Intention.
That sounds familiar.
Louise Hay, I mentioned her before. She's like the mother of self-development from the 80s, I think she started. She's a lot about self-love and mirror work. It depends on when. I know that one book, for example, that really changed my life, even though it's so simple, it's The 4 Agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz.
Wow. Somebody else just told us about that.
Then I guess that's a message for you to read it.
Yeah, it comes across a lot.
Actually,
yeah,
it's on our ride to the beach.
It's amazing. Who else? I'm trying to think.
Deepak Chopra was my introduction to meditation.
Yeah. I used to listen to him a lot before. In the past, because I have cycles, sometimes I love to listen a lot about someone, and then I switch, and then I come back. Yeah, Deepak Chopra was one of my teachers too. And I'm trying to think. Of course, when the Law of Attraction came out, I looked into it.
Yeah.
But I love to really put a more spiritual aspect to it than just asking for what we want. There is nothing wrong with that, but I also believe in divine assignments. I believe that any challenge, there is good and bad. There is a lesson in it, even if it's super hard. And that's what helps me live my life on a day-to-day basis.
So you mentioned Reiki earlier, and that just came into my radar maybe like a year ago. Can you explain that a little bit and what you do with that?
So Reiki, there is a life force energy in the universe.
Yes.
And Reiki is somehow channeling that, directing that life force energy, and on someone or on myself, you just become a conduit. And it's healing. It helps heal the energy field, our energy field, because everything starts with energy. And you use it to relax, really relax the body. You use it, I don't know if you can say heal. I believe that it does heal, but I don't want to affirm anything that is not scientifically proven. But you use the life force energy to help people. And I had clients I remember a client who she needed to take a plane, and she had a vertigo for 3 weeks, and nothing was helping. It was in the US. She went to see an acupuncturist. It didn't help. She tried pills. Nothing helped. She came, we did a Reiki session, and it removed the vertigo. It rebalanced the energetical system, and she was okay for 3 weeks. So she had time to hop on a plane, go where she was supposed to go, and then see her doctor there, her homeopath, and continue the treatment. Reiki, when you do Reiki, also you connect with the infinite field of energy, because it's also divine energy. It's all the same. I know I was trained in Reiki, but when I do Reiki, I also call on everything I believe in, and everything that the person on the table, the massage table, is believing in. If they believe in angels, I'm going to call on angels. If they believe, I'm Jewish, but I call on Mother Mary sometimes to help. Whatever good force in the universe can help, I call on it. And it's just sending divine, beautiful love and life force energy.
We had a little conversation. It was just me and her the other day on a little recording. We're not sure if we're even going to put it out as a podcast, but it was just a little recording. But I noticed, I mentioned that I noticed when the pandemic happened, we're in downtown LA, and there was always been a routine with LA. 8 o'clock traffic, traffic jam.
Yeah.
Noon, there's going to be people walking downtown LA for lunch. 4 or 5 o'clock, there's going to be people leaving. And when the pandemic happened, there was a nothing. So there was the energy you can notice, okay, there's not a lot of people coming here every day, and that certain energy isn't here. You can basically feel the emptiness of that energy. I guess to fast forward it kind of connected some creative ideas, I guess, dealing with energy manipulation, or just being able to, like right now we have the Super Bowl. We're not involved in it necessarily, but you are, of course, just like a football arena, there's a lot of energy in that arena when there's people in there. And then when there's not any people in there, the energy isn't there. So for like a place like now, you have Los Angeles and you have this this extra energy that's here. How can a person, or is it possible even to kind of find a way to manifest that energy without being a part of the Super Bowl? Like we're going to the beach, or we can feel the energy, but is there anything you can do if you're not a part of the Super Bowl? How can a person still use that energy?
Transmute energy basically to your benefit is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, to your benefit.
So
is that even possible?
If you're talking about energies of crowd, I'm not sure how to do that. I know that I use energy when I need, let's say, I was living in the US for 25 years with no family, and sometimes I needed love. Mm-hmm. And I was single, and so I sat on a meditation cushion, and do you know about chakras, right?
Yes.
Energy centers in the body. So I would,
and feel free to educate people on chakras as well while we're here.
So we have 7 main chakras. We have others, but we have chakras that start at the basis of the spine. Then a second one at the level of the, I would say the womb area, if you want, for a woman. Then the next one is the solar plexus. Then the heart. Then at the basis of the throat, the third eye, and above the head, on the top of the head. Mm-hmm. And those energy centers, I'm not an expert, but I use them. Each one resonates and vibrates at the level of a color. For example, the first one vibrates at the same frequency as red, the second one as orange, the one is in the solar plexus as yellow, the heart is green, the throat is blue, the third eye is indigo, and the top of the head, I see it when I do my meditation, white or purple, depending on who you talk to. And you can open those energy centers. And if you're talking about crowds, I have the opposite effect than wanting to grab that crowd energy and use it. For me, sometimes it's overwhelming because I absorb other people's energy. Mm-hmm. So when I'm around a lot of people, I always make sure when I come home to clear myself. And I visualize, I actually have on my website for moms a free, I called it Back to Peace kit. And in that kit, there is a meditation, which is a meditation to clear your chakras, to remove anything that doesn't belong there, anything that doesn't vibrate high, so that you're clear. And if you're talking about using energy, I ask the universe sometimes to send me love energy. And I promise I can feel it in my heart chakra. If you're really open, you're ready to receive. And so I ask for love and I send thank yous. So it's like, like a cycle: receive love, send thank yous. This is the energy of the heart. It's one of the most powerful energies. And that would raise your vibration to where your energy is going to be super strong and shiny and powerful. When you work with that energy of the heart about either receiving love, sending thank yous. I teach moms because, you know, with teens, when they don't want to listen anything. They know better. You can't do anything to help them. There is still a way to help someone if you can't, if it doesn't go through and it's energy. So I have them sit down and just send love. And I noticed that, so what I do with my kids and what I teach moms is to tap so that you are calm and at the same time you send love. And somehow it connects with the person. And even if they don't know it, they receive it. And I've seen differences in the behaviors and in the relationships. I had a mom who hadn't seen her son for 2 years. And so her son was taking drugs. And she said, I didn't have contact with him for 2 years. And we worked on that to send him love. I said, your job is to love him. Love him. If you can't do anything else, send him love. And a few weeks after we started working together, he gave her a phone call. I've seen that so many times. When I was working with women on relationships, I remember I was working with a client who had a hard time affirming herself and setting limits with people. So we were meditating and visualizing, and I told her, you define your area, that's your area, your energetic area, and affirm no one is crossing, or else they're going to be disintegrated. You know, that's just an image, that's just some kind of, let's say, a ritual, if you want, because the brain responds well to that. So we did that. A week later, her house went on fire. And I was like, oh my God. Do you remember we said disintegrated if they cross? I said, we're working on renewing yourself. We're working on defining a new self for you with limits. And maybe because she went through stuff that were very traumatic in her life, maybe certain objects in your house were reminding you unconsciously every time you pass in front of that book or that whatever it is, you're being remembered of when you were young and you were attacked. So it was time for the universe to clean all that so you can start anew. Maybe it didn't serve you. Energy is so powerful. It's very powerful. So you don't need a lot of people to create a lot of energy. You can connect with the field, connect with the divine source, the universe, whatever you want, whatever resonates for you to call it, and open your heart and you'll see. You'll see. And if you talk about manifesting, make sure that there is no fear. If you feel fear, you can use techniques, you can use tapping, you can use other techniques. And once you're neutral, that's when you want to send energy and invite. I don't know did I say how I see energy like an elevator?
Yes.
So you come neutral, and then you're going to, after a while, you can go higher. You can go at the level of hope or the level of gratitude or elevated emotions. When you're at that level, it's like a floor. You're going to be, because I believe that we have power, but we're not God. I don't believe so much in attraction. I believe more in alignment. Alignment with a certain wave, a certain frequency. So at that floor, I'm going to encounter other things that will make me grateful because I'm at the level of gratitude. So I'm going to encounter people, situations, things, all kinds of stuff that are going to resonate with gratitude, that I'm going to be grateful with. So it's all about remember who you are. We are powerful. And remembering to connect with the most powerful of all, which is the unity of Source, God, the universe. About manifesting, I remember when my son was 13, he needed to have a good role model, and he didn't have for a male role model in his life. There was none. So I enrolled him with big sisters, big brothers, because they match adults with kids to help them to become friends. And he was already 13, and they told me, we don't think that we're going to find a match because he's too old. people like younger kids. I said, that's okay. Just put his name on the list. 2 years later, I didn't hear about them, didn't think about them. 2 years later, he was going through something very difficult and I didn't know what to do. He didn't like school. It was creating trouble. And I asked, show me. I always ask, show me the next step, because I just need the next step. When you're busy to see the whole journey, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. It's too much. It's scary. You're going to start thinking, how am I doing that? How will I create that opportunity or that thing? Next step, show me. The same day, 2 hours later, I got a call from Big Brothers, Big Sisters. He was now 15. So there was even less probability of finding someone. They found someone who had so much in common with our family. He was even working in the same building where I was working.
Wow.
It was amazing. You couldn't, when you ask, there is an answer in a way that the universe is thinking is the best for us. I didn't know what to expect. I just asked. So you can manifest, you can just pay attention what's coming.
When you're doing your energy work, do you use crystals at all? Or just
so I use them for myself only because I'm not savvy enough. I love crystals, but I don't know the power of each crystal. I have some in my house, but I know some people do use it. I don't.
What do you have personally, if you don't mind? I mean,
as far as crystals?
I meant like, what are some of your favorites? Yeah, that you like.
So there is the obsidian, because it's protecting. Okay. I have something that I ordered. It comes from Iceland. It's quartz from Iceland, and I've read that it can rebalance your cells. So I was contaminated with hepatitis B in 2017. And it was so strong, I've almost died from it. So I was healing, and they told me, you're going to take meds all your life. And I took the meds because I needed to, but I knew I wouldn't have to take them all my life because the body can heal itself. So I use everything I knew to get off the meds. And now I don't need to take medications, but that was one that I came across. I said, why not? And I carried it like on a necklace for some time. Jade for abundance, because I think the Chinese people I have bracelets in jade. And I think it's rose quartz for love.
Okay.
And turquoise just because it's beautiful.
Well, before we get ready to close things out, was there anything you'd like to ask us or share with our audience? Any projects you have coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Yes. First of all, I love the name of your podcast. That's why I connected with you.
Thank you.
Who is your audience, and who are you trying to help? So I'm clear also.
Well, when our audience we're still building. This is our second season.
Yeah, we're still working.
I could say most of our audience at this moment, it may be a lot of our guests. Most of our guests at this moment.
Great.
But we focus a lot on personal development, spirituality, and just things that can help people improve their life, and even technology, cryptocurrency, entrepreneurship, just self-development, personal development.
Those are some of the things we'd like
those
to
are the people
bring on, to have a conversation with. Also, one of the reasons is I wanted to learn from regular people. I'm a musician, so I've done music most of my life, and that's kind of been what a lot of things have evolved around. So even with me being on the platform, I'm enjoying learning from people like you. And that's one of the things mostly whatever I learn, my audience learn. And as we grow, we all learn together basically, and we learn from each other. Yeah.
And music is also channeling. I mean, it comes from somewhere through you. That's the beauty of it. I always
actually
admire that.
listen to a lot of people that channel in many different ways and find that pretty fascinating.
And I used to street perform. I've shared it on the podcast before. I used to street perform in downtown LA. So when you mean energy, understanding how energy work and the people that come by, and even on my bucket was thank you for your energy. Never necessarily tips or money or anything, but just thank you for your energy, and that's the exchange. So I've definitely had my share of, being able to gauge energy and understand people just from being in the random public and changing the energy. Yes. Cause that was one of my things that I enjoyed. And the thing I got the best, I wish myself, and sometimes I got the experience because other musicians would come and perform as well, but I wish I got a chance to experience walking up on me while I'm there street performing, because I'm aware that I do put off a vibe when I'm there. I've had people come up in tears. I've had all types of, just encounters where people say, you really just changed this whole block. So that's one of the things I'm aware of, how energy works, but I don't street perform anymore. So I've kind of brought my energy over here now to where I kind of try to put it out and
share like that. Yeah.
In that way.
And it's really performing like that is also, and changing the energy is sacred work to me. That's how I see it. And there is no randomness. When we meet with people, it's because we're supposed to meet, and there is some kind of match that is made from above, to where we can either bring something to each other or bring something together for other people.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it. As far as the audience, I don't know when this episode is going to air, but I have a class coming up on mom guilt and about self-forgiveness, because self-forgiveness will help you. When you feel guilty, you have a notion of you're waiting to be punished somehow, unconsciously. And you cannot invite all the good in your life, because at a certain level, you feel that you don't deserve it. So guilt can be very dangerous in general. There is a beauty to guilt. It depends. Some guilt will teach you, don't do that again, and forgive yourself, but don't do that again. Other, when you I know a lot of people who beat themselves up for months and months and months for one small mistake. We all make mistakes. So I have a class coming up on self-forgiveness, because when you forgive yourself, you also can forgive others with more easily. Yeah. And moms are very talented in guilt. So that's what I love helping. I have a podcast for moms. It's called Co-Parenting with the Universe, which I now changed the name of my business. And just what I love leaving people with is remember who you are. We're powerful, and you're not alone, and you have what it takes. No matter what happens, we have what it takes. Yes. And whether it's beautiful, you can enhance the beautiful. It's great. Or if it's hard, you have what it takes, and you can overcome and learn and grow. And reach out to whoever you come across. If you're really struggling with something, don't stay alone, because it's so hard to do things alone and think that you're only one on the planet who made that mistake, or who's going through that challenge. And you're not alone. We are human beings with the same. We want the same thing. We need the same thing. And a lot of us are going through stuff that are similar, and we can help each other in that way.
Thank you.
I wanted to connect some dots, because I love the term co-parenting with the universe, because that's how we live our life, is kind of co-creating with the universe and always following our intuition and asking for guidance. And even when you're talking about this podcast, there was a break between season 1 and season 2. There was like a year break where we went through some stuff, but
and it was divine as well.
Before season 2 started, I was going through some stuff, and I was at a crossroad, and I hit a little bit of a low, and I meditated on it, and I was, and I asked for guidance and for from the universe, from my ancestors, from my guardian angels,
Yeah.
everyone that's co-creating with me, and soul group, everyone. And so I there was, it was partly I was, frustrated. I was, I asked for guidance anyways. And, all of a sudden, like an influx of um, people started requesting to be a guest on the podcast, and the podcast started rolling. And, you know, I don't even care how many people are listening, to be honest with you, or who our audience is. I think the right people, I think, you know, I was guided by the universe,
Yeah.
and I think the
Yeah.
right people that are supposed to be attracted to this content will be attracted to it. And, I don't know where it's going, but it's something that we were guided to do. And,
And it's our
So
experience with the music as well was something that kind of led us to not stress those things again with this. And it was
yeah.
something that we learned from the past, so that it created a anxiety and stress and worry. And but with this, that's why and it's going so fast. I must say that, because this is one day we have one podcast schedule, but I think the rest of this week is like 2 podcasts a day recording. So things are rolling so fast that
yeah.
we're in gratitude. It's just we've been stuck in gratitude for a month and a half, to where it's a lot, it's work to come, but the stress is basically being beat down with gratitude, you know at the
Yeah,
same
because
time.
you were shown, you asked for
Mhm.
guidance, and that was your answer, so you know
Yeah.
where to go. And it happens all the time. I this co-parenting with the universe, I even woke up from a meditation. I woke up and I meditate in the morning, and that came to me, and I trademarked the name. I had chills when that came to me. I was like, oh my God, that's the one. And I remember I have friends who are not very, I have friends who believe in energy and the law of attraction, and I have friends who don't. And they looked at me and they're like, are you sure that's where you want to go? I said, oh, yeah, yeah. I'm out of the woo-woo closet. People will know. That's who I am, because that's what I do in my life. And I need to go and be aligned with who I really am. So when you are aligned and you ask and you follow the steps, it can only end up in something marvelous.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And we've
Well,
perfected, or getting better at turning a negative into a positive. A lot of people don't really practice that, but that's something that you can actually become really good at turning a negative situation into a positive situation, and then it becomes better.
Because
there is
sometimes,
always both.
yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. I was going to say, like, sometimes when you observe it after the fact, you realize there's a reason for everything. So
Yeah.
you kind of start to understand, like, okay, this is beyond me. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
And so with that subject of turning the negative into a positive, and there is a reason for everything. I actually did in my former podcast, I did an episode on that, and I believe that there is a reason for everything. But even if I don't, it doesn't even matter, because you make it. You will make it happen for a reason with whatever you transform it into.
Yeah.
Because I have a friend who's like, no, it doesn't happen for a reason, but I will do whatever I need so that it becomes a good outcome. And I was like, it doesn't matter what you believe, as long as you have this attitude of it happens and I'm going to transform, like almost like an alchemist, that into gold, even though if it's hard.
Yeah.
That's what matters. And transforming the negative into positive, I catch myself through the day when I have a thought, I'm like, oh, that's an old story that I've been telling myself forever. No, ouch, that's not what I want to believe anymore. And we have to intervene on ourselves sometimes. And so developing awareness to recognize that in the moment. But there are also the things where when it happens, like, for example, when somebody is having difficulty because they just broke up or divorced or whatever, or something very traumatic happened, I always make sure that I witness the pain of the person, and I honor their pain, and I give them time to be in shock. And then when they're ready, of course, it doesn't need to last too long, because otherwise you bathe into it and it's not good.
Yeah.
And then get to a point where you transform that negative into something positive. Because what I noticed in the positive thinking environment, sometimes it's too fast. And some people need to be like, I know for me, when I was contaminated with hepatitis B, I was contaminated by someone who ran away as soon as he knew. I needed to have my moment of anger. I needed to let that anger flow through me, and after that, transform that into something positive. But I needed to be, the emotions have their role. And as long as we don't stay in it, but we let them flow and we don't push them inside of us, it's the healing is done.
Yeah. Well, it has been a very, 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 very good conversation. And is there anything?
No.
I feel like I forgot to ask something. That's why I was like, there's something else you want to ask, but
it will come back to you after the episode.
Yeah, it does that. And we always invite our guests back. I know that you're not in the States, I guess, but if you're ever in LA, we should be here for a while.
I may say hi at one point. My kids, I still have 2 daughters in the US, although it's not in California, it's in Las Vegas, but
that's still close. Yeah, that's 4 hours. Yeah,
still close. Yeah. I love the US. My goal is to be on both countries, living in both places. That would be the ideal. That's the vision I'm giving to the universe to work with.
Hey, that's us too.
Okay, and that I guess leads more to my question, because we usually always ask your favorite places to travel.
So I love the US. I love California, except for the traffic, but the beach and the vibe, the California vibe. I don't know. There's something about California that I love. A place where I have never been, but I want to go. It's Rome, Italy. I don't know. It's attracting to me. And I also want to go to Nepal and do some kind of meditation retreat or something there. Because I know people who did that, and that's really something I want to do.
Okay.
Italy is a beautiful place.
Yeah, we love to travel, so we try to grab, destinations from our guests as well, from their personal experience as well.
Yeah, Greece was nice. I've been in Greece, France, of course. Yeah, there are so many places. I mean, it's hard. I want to go to Argentina because I used to do tango. So with Corona, as soon as we can, everything opens a little bit more.
Yeah,
it's going to be on the list. Yes. I have a long list on my wall, on my vision board.
Yeah, same here.
Do you do vision boards, by the way?
Yes, and we just printed out some new items for our vision boards last night.
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that.
But yeah, we always do vision boards.
And it's like, I need to print this out. I need to print this out too. I was just maybe 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I have one waiting for me too. Also, that I'm starting. I was supposed to start in January, but I didn't have time.
Yeah. That's how aligned, I guess, we are right now.
Yeah.
But it's been a huge pleasure having you come and teach us about tapping and sharing your experience with us and sharing your advice to mothers with us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to the listeners.
Yeah, thank you for listening. And you can find Murielle's information on the description. And for our podcast, you can find us at americangypsy.com. You'll find access to all the episodes, audio and video. We also have merchandise at luamlee.com, and you'll find access to that from American Gypsy. And there's also music.
We have music at Classic, KLACCIK, Carpenter, CARPENTA, on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Tidal, all major platforms. thank you again for everyone listening, for our supporters, everybody that press like, comment, that subscribe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And consistent self-improvement, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.